I'm just going to briefly go through and demonstrate the simple web application that we've developed as a part of the Reflect project, which allows patients or GPs on behalf of patients to associate their wearable devices with an identifier such as an NHS number. And then once those devices are associated with that patient within the Reflect system, when those wearable devices generate data, it can be collected and stored by Reflect. And then a third party, in this case MetaDevice, can come along and, having collected that identifier separately, can pass that identifier to Reflect and basically ask, is there any data available for this patient? And if so, can I have it? And that data can then be used, hopefully, in decision support systems, particularly those with an AI component, so that this data can augment the way that those components operate. So this is the landing page. This is just a little staging test environment that we've set up to demonstrate this. This is the landing page that a patient or a GP acting on their behalf would land on. So the first box to complete is the 10-digit NHS number. So we'll just enter a dummy value in there for now. So we click next, and you'll see a selection of the services, in other words, the vendors, the device manufacturers that are available, that are currently supported. So at the moment we're supporting Withings and Garmin, with more to follow, hopefully. So the idea here is that, again, the patient or the GP will select the manufacturer of the device that they want to connect. So in this case, we're going to go for Withings. So we're going to click on here and we're going to go through the standard OAuth flow. So we're basically redirected to Withings site, and now we essentially want to say, as the owner of this device, I am comfortable sending this data through from Withings servers over to the Reflect servers. So I'm going to authorize this app. I'm going to allow this app, and that basically, very simply, takes us then back to our servers, gives us all the information that we need, and we've now stored and hopefully made that connection to Withings. So we've basically subscribed to notifications from the current user's device, just subscribe to notifications of new data. So when new data is added, we'll get a notification from Withings saying that new data is available, and we can then grab that data from their server and store it and make it available against that identifier that we just stored. So as a patient now, I'm more or less done in terms of registration. So we can just double check that we're connected. So we are. I can see in my Withings account, I can see that now Reflect is connected. So what I would do now as a patient, as I say, registration is more or less done. But let's say, for example, I have in this case, we're collecting blood pressure from Withings. So let's say I have one of these wearable smart blood pressure monitors, and I take a reading. What will happen then is that data will be passed from that device up to Withings servers, then across to our servers and stored. So I can simulate this approach rather than going through the actual process of taking that measurement directly through the Withings dashboard, just by manually entering a blood pressure value. So I can come in here and just enter some dummy values here and essentially save them to kind of, as I say, to simulate that process of actually taking that reading using one of these wearable or smart devices. So I can save that there, and effectively what would be happening now is this Withings will, they've got this data, now it's on their server, they should have pinged our server to say new data is available, and then we will come across to their server and get that data back. So that's kind of one half of this Reflect app, is the kind of user-facing side or the GP-facing side, and the other is the side that's facing the kind of decision support system, which is this REST API. So we've created, to begin with, a very simple REST API that basically allows you to get all the information on a user, and to kind of demonstrate the capabilities of this API, we're using this standard UI, which is Swagger, which basically shows you the endpoints that are available. So I'm going to go ahead and try the first endpoint that's detailed here, which is to log in. So I'm going to log in using these standard credentials. and then that should give me my authentication token back. So again, this is purely emulating in a kind of, from a UI perspective, kind of graphically, what software would be doing in order to gain access to this automatically. So software like a decision support system. So I can go ahead and authorize now, and again, this will allow basically Swagger to attach these credentials to each call that I make. So the kind of simple kind of demonstrator here is this simple /API/FHIR route. So what this basically will do is it will ask for all data available on a patient, and we'll get that response in FHIR, so in the FHIR format, which is a standard way to present health data. So we can enter in the patient ID, so that's the one that we registered with before, and it's always prefixed with a U, just for these standard storage conventions. Oops, sorry, try it out, and then U. And what this will do now is, again, we're emulating what a piece of code would do, is we will essentially ask the server for what data do you have on the patient with this ID, which is the ID that they priorly registered with, and a standard one that could be collected in the running of a third-party system as well, such as a decision support system or a similar tool. So this number would already be to hand, and you're effectively then asking, what data is associated with this patient. So again, we're in a staging environment, so slightly lower resource, so it takes a little longer to come back to us. But effectively, now we will be getting information about this patient. So as we can see, we've got this information that's come through. We can see this is the standard FHIR format, and somewhere in here we can see the values that we've entered. So I can see a 65 there that I believe we entered for diastolic blood pressure, and we've got 200 here for our systolic. And then we've got our 60 here, which we entered for our heart rate. So yeah, this is how we access and use this system and the data that it has to provide.